order the regular meeting of the Wheeling Plan Commission for Wednesday, October 28th, 2020. Please stand for the pledge. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Thank you. Commissioner Villanova.
I'm here.
Commissioner Sprague is here. Commissioner Yedinek.
Here.
Commissioner Thompson is absent.
Just walked in.
Here.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay, here.
Here.
Commissioner Creech.
Present.
Chairman Johnson.
Here. Thank you. Nice. Any changes to the agenda this evening?
No changes.
Right. Citizens' concerns and comments. We do have one person, Dominic Vargas. We don't have that little paragraph, do we?
I think he's on, wants to talk about Valley Stream.
Oh, okay. You're here to talk about the Valley Stream? Yes. Okay, then we'll get to you in a few minutes. All right, consent items. We have one. Docket number SCBA 20-28 for the Wheeling Fire Station at 780 South Wheeling Road for a wall sign. Very complicated looking wall sign. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Got it?
Yes. Chairman Creech.
Yes.
Chairman
Commissioner.
Commissioner Villanova.
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague, yes. Commissioner Yedinek.
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes. All right. Items for review. Docket number 2020-29, variation to permit a single-family home without a garage at 900 Valley Stream. Mr. Secretary.
Okay, we got docket number 2020-29, unlimited fire contractor for the property owner is seeking a variation from Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 19-04, residential districts and associated sections do not require the construction of an enclosed attached or detached garage associated with the construction of a single-family home. All new dwelling units shall include an enclosed attached or detached garage, a minimum of 528 square feet in size, for the property located at 900 Valley Stream Drive. A zoning variation is intended to be a method of adjustment to equalize regulations where the zoning code has created an unnecessary hardship. A variation is designed to allow affected property owners the same rights and privileges that others enjoy in the same zoning district. In order to be granted a variation, a petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at a public hearing that the request meets the standards of the village code, including, but not limited to, how their individual situation is unique or unusual. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that the request for variation meets the standards established in Title 19. The Commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the village board.
Thank you. Ms. Nice. Anything on this before we get started?
No.
All right, petitioner here. Come on up. This is a public hearing, so I have to swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're giving tonight to be the truth?
I do.
State your name and address, please.
My name is James Bro, 900 Valley Stream Drive, Wheeling, Illinois.
Could you please speak into the microphone?
Have to get in a little closer.
My name's James Bro, 900 Valley Stream Drive, Wheeling, Illinois.
Thank you. All right, what is it you are asking for here?
Well, at this time I'm asking to be able to to build a new home on
You
that.
can raise the mic up toward you.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, at this time, I'm asking to build a new home at that location, rather than to try to restore it. And the request to do it is to meet any requirements. So the reason that we're trying to build a new home is, in trying to rebuild the home, which the village said that we could do, and going over it with the insurance company and the architect, the village denied the request to rebuild the home because it was in a floodplain. So they said that I would have to raise the first floor. Well, they said I had to get a elevation certificate. So I paid for that, and we had the elevation checked, and they said that I was 0.6 feet too low, the first floor. So I could not rebuild it. So I said, well, what are my options? They said, well, the only option is you have to raise the first floor. So I talked to the insurance company, and they said, we're not paying for that because you're in a floodplain. You have to pay out of your own pocket. So I talked to the architect to try to get an estimate on raising the first floor, all the bedrooms, kitchen, bathroom, everything. And I asked him about the distance ends up being about 7.2 inches. And then checking the ceiling height, the ceilings are close to 8 feet. So I said, can the ceilings be raised? He said, you cannot raise the ceilings. So you'll have short ceilings. So on top of the cost to pay for it myself, the short ceilings mean that we have multiple problems attached to raising the first floor. One is that any fixtures on the ceiling become a hazard for taller people.
Sure.
So I was in there checking the fan blades, and basically if you put ceiling fans back in, the end of the blades become a hazard for people over 6 feet tall. So we can't have ceiling fans, and light fixtures also for tall people are a problem. Doorways become a problem. Our deck is level with the back door. So we would have a step down onto the back deck, and it might also require raising the back deck. In raising the back deck up, the overhang for the back deck above the door is only a little above my head. It can't be raised because it's at the gutter height. Not an option. I'd have to remove the overhang, which means you don't have any snow protection on the steps, or duck underneath the overhang. Going in and out of doors can be an issue for taller people. And then lastly but not least, to try to rebuild that and then to sell so we could move. The market is limited to people who aren't very tall, would have a problem when they go through the house, and I would not be attracted. I'm tall myself. So we have tall people in the family. If we stay, it could be a problem. If we try to sell, it could be a problem. So we looked at trying to build a new home, and an estimate to build a new home with a split level like that was quite a bit above the cost that the insurance would pay for the repair. Estimate was $287,000 for a new home to replace that kind of the way it is now. It's more than $50,000 over the insurance cost, which I would have to pay for. So I'm sorry. It's been a long 7 months. So I tried to make the house smaller so we could afford it. So the option was to build not 2-story, but get everything on the first floor, and I could get the price down to $250,000. So we had the drafter lay out a first floor plan, and we tried to submit that, and we were turned down because we can't increase the size of the footprint of the first floor for DNR because we're in a flood zone. So we have to keep it the same size footprint that's up there. And so I have 4 people displaced at this point, which means 3 bedrooms. to fit 3 bedrooms in there and leave the garage, there isn't space. I would have to go down to 1 or 2 bedroom home on a first floor to be able to afford it. So I said, okay, we'll we'll build it without a garage. I was told I can't build it without a garage because the code says I have to have a garage. I said, I'm willing to put a garage, a detached garage or an attached garage if I can get my family back in the home and be able to afford it. So, so the last option was to apply for a variance. And if need be, because DNR, according to the construction company, may remove the home from the floodplain early next year, would be to attach something to the variance that states that I must add a garage when I'm removed from the floodplain, which I'm willing to do. I go with a garage or without a garage. I just want to get back in the house. So first of all, I would like to receive a variance so the construction company can start building, so I can get a permit. And if something needs to be signed or attached to it that says I must add a detached garage when removed from the floodplain, I'll sign any papers. I would put the garage in now if they let me. I put it in the backyard right now, but DNR said no. So I don't have very many options left. If there's another option, I'm open.
Okay.
Kind of where I'm at.
Kyle, what can you add to this as far as the floodplain and?
I'll try to be brief, but obviously as detailed as I can here. So just a little bit of background. So the home sustained a little bit of fire damage. I think it was the beginning of this year. So he came in for a building permit to, obviously restore the interior of the home. The cost to restore the home cost more than 50% of what the home was valued at. And because of that, it is considered substantially damaged and would need a substantial repair. Because of that, it has to be brought into our flood zone. It has to be brought into compliance with all our flood zone ordinance. The home in its current condition would not meet our current flood zone, code. So unfortunately, that's kind of where we're at, and now the new home has to be constructed, with our flood zone code. And it should be stated, it's not just the flood zone that it's located in that's making this difficult, it's the floodway. That's a more severe zone, if you will, a lot more restrictive zone to construct in than the 100-year flood zone, which is why we're running into a lot of these restrictions as far as how he can construct his new home. It cannot exceed the existing footprint. There's no fill allowed in the flood zone, and these kind of conditions are what's making it difficult, if not impossible, to install a garage. The way his home was proposed, the way it was designed, is it is elevated with a crawl space. And the reason it has to be elevated with a crawl space is so that flood waters can make their way underneath the crawl and is considered no fill. If they were to install a garage in this particular home, that garage has to sit on its own slab. That slab has to be elevated to the flood protection elevation. In order to elevate it, you have to bring fill into the site, and fill is not an acceptable use in the floodway. So, the village has kind of been undergoing over the last 2.5 years, a flood zone remapping in this particular area. We have received the FEMA maps that are expected to be approved in January, early February, and it does show this particular property being removed. At least the part of the property where the home is going to be removed from the floodway. It will still be in the 100-year flood zone, at least some parts of it will be in the 100-year flood zone, but it's a lot less restrictive to build a home in the 100-year flood zone. He could have the garage, he could build his footprint bigger, he could add fill into the flood zone, obviously providing compensatory storage, but all these things can be worked around with the size lot that he has. So that is expected to happen, that the flood zone boundary changes are expected to, come into effect springtime of next year. Now, obviously, we can't do a whole lot about that now. So that's kind of why we're in the situation that we're in. It's because of the floodway. If you've got specific questions as it relates to this, I'm more than happy to answer them, but that's kind of some background and the rationale behind, obviously the new construction here.
How sure are we that the floodplain, flood zone
So
is
that's,
going to be
yeah,
changed?
we are fairly certain. So just a very brief background, we've received the FEMA maps that are expected to come out in January, February. So basically what's going on now is FEMA gave us the maps, and basically FEMA sent out a public notice, basically we have a 90-day public notice period where people can petition, people can, say, this flood zone boundary is not correct, whatever. The reason behind that public notice is generally for those that are being brought into the flood zone from being out of the flood zone. But a large majority of the people affected by this flood zone remapping are being pulled out. So we don't really expect any contesting. We don't really expect any, changes to be made. But anything is possible, unfortunately. But we do expect this particular property to be removed.
Wasn't it only like 10 years ago or so that a lot of homes in that neighborhood got put into?
The last map came out in 2008. I have not compared the previous map to see which homes were brought in, which ones were brought out. But modeling has come a long way in the last 10, 15 years. We did actually collect a lot of additional data, elevations, topographic data to kind of, get more accurate information in the kind of the questionable areas that we don't really think should be in the flood zone. So, we got additional topographic data there. Our consulting engineer took that information, took the new modeling, and basically came up with new boundaries. The Department of Natural Resources, FEMA, all been on board. It's a multi-government, or obviously governmental collaboration here. And it's been a long time coming, 2.5+ years, and we're right there at the end. So we expect this property, obviously I can't say with 100% certainty, we do expect this property to be removed from the floodway and brought into the 100-year flood zone, which obviously makes new construction a lot less restrictive. There's still obviously Title 22 flood zone ordinances that need to be adhered, but it's not the floodway.
And a lot of the work that's been done downstream is helping this, right?
I'm sure that was all taken into consideration with the modeling. I can't say for certain which aspects of, Heritage Park, for example, I can't tell you if that specifically affected, the Buffalo Creek upstream. But, in collaboration with, infrastructure projects, modeling, new topographic data, all that stuff kind of came together to come up with some new boundaries here.
And just to clarify one more thing before we go to the commission, they could not rebuild the house exactly as it is right now?
Correct, because one section of our code, and I'm just going to kind of read this here. Providing the building was damaged 50% or more of the market value before it was damaged or replaced, which do not, let's just kind of get to the chase here. Basically, the new construction has to be brought up to the flood protection elevation. So flood protection elevation is the base flood elevation plus 2 feet, according to our code. So the garage, for example, right now, in his current configuration, is below the base flood elevation. It is not at the flood protection elevation, so the garage is not compliant. First floor elevation of the existing home, not at the flood protection elevation, not compliant. So basically, in its current configuration, it can't be restored.
All right, let's go to the commission. You got anything else, Marcy, before we go? Commissioner Creech, let's start down
And
at that
don't,
end.
and don't forget any public members for the hearing.
Oh, yeah, is there anyone from the public that came to talk about it? Oh, I'm sorry. You told me that. Dominic Vargas, come on up. I have to Swear you in, raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're giving tonight to be the truth?
Yes.
State your name and address for the record.
Dominic, I'm here on behalf of the Valley Stream Homeowners Association, 801 to 845 Valley Stream Drive. We had received notice about the permit and new home construction.
Can you come up to the microphone, please?
The one thing I'd like to just bring you guys' attention is that we have a lot of overflow from the neighborhood when it comes to parking, and we have very limited parking overall. And we see a lot of issues from just homeowners as a whole coming into our private parking lot and using it at their own discretion. And I just wouldn't want to do anything that would potentially add to that issue that we have ongoing. We have a trash issue as well, but we feel that this potentially might make it more of an ongoing issue when it comes to parking, just with people as a whole, because I think there's a time limit as far as when the cars have to be moved in the evening.
Yes.
And we tend to see, especially on weekends, a lot of that traffic end up in our parking lot. And we do our best to oversee everything, but we don't, never want to feel we have to put gates up or something like that to keep these people out.
That's probably coming from Colonial, right?
We have that too, and we're trying to reach out to some individuals here at the village to see if we can get some signs posted, because we've had a lot of issues where people actually are parking within about 10 to 15 feet of the intersection at Valley Stream and 83. We had, about 9 months ago, a car actually get hit and go through one of our buildings.
I remember that.
So we've been trying to reach out and just see if we can get something done to just let people know that, I don't know if it's just common rule of about 100 yards or so from that intersection you should be parking from, but there's nothing posted that ever, tells anybody not to do so, and there's people that do it all the time. And like I said, we have about, I think it's a space and a half per unit, and everybody nowadays has at least 2 vehicles per home, and that's where we're running into issues. We don't even have enough to accommodate the people that actually live there. So we're just running into issues ongoing with this parking problem. All right? Thank you.
Now, Commissioner Creech.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Kyle, they want to build this new ranch on the existing foundation?
Foundation of the existing home is, I think that's planned to come out, but the new foundation has to have the same footprint. So the design engineer came out there and measured the existing foundation footprint. The new footprint is expected to be exactly the same. That's how our floodway ordinance is designed. So they will very likely be replacing the foundation, but in compliance with our code, obviously.
So that's the reason why they wouldn't be able to put a one-car garage in it, because they are actually going to replace the foundation, and the foundation has to be at a certain elevation.
The foundation doesn't necessarily need to be at a certain elevation. The first floor does, the living floor. So basically, the way this is designed is the foundation is going to be more or less at existing grade out there, and then they're going to have a crawl space underneath the first floor, however tall that crawl space is, maybe 2 or 3 feet. And then you have the first floor, which is at the flood protection elevation. So the reason it's elevated on a crawl space is there are going to be flood vents between the foundation and the first floor that basically allow flood waters, if the creek got high enough, and the flood waters can make its way into the crawl space and use that as flood storage. That's the intent. If that area was filled in or blocked off from flood flow, essentially that'd be considered fill in the floodway and would not be an acceptable use. So that's kind of the basis behind the new design.
So, new foundation, crawl space underneath the whole home.
Correct.
So, at that point, he could go to a 2-story building,
In theory, yes.
or a split level, similar to what he has.
I'm not an architect. Obviously, he could theoretically go up,
Because,
but yes.
looking at the home now from the street, you could see that the west part of the home is much higher than what the right is, where he would be driving into the one-car garage. That's probably, 20 inches, almost 2 feet lower than...
It should be stated that in this particular picture here, the garage is below the base flood elevation. It's below the flood protection elevation. The left half of the house, which is obviously a couple feet higher, still below the flood protection elevation. So in this current configuration, the garage floor is not in compliance and the first floor is not in compliance. The issue with bringing a garage into the equation here is that the existing grade out there is below the base flood elevation. In order to get that to the flood protection elevation, obviously you're not going to have a garage on top of a crawl space.
I understand that, but you're also saying that the west end of the building is too low as well.
In its current configuration, yes. Not the proposed. Obviously, in its existing state, the west, yes. In this picture, the left half of the house is, what was that, I think 0.6 or 0.7 feet below the flood protection elevation, which is why he was saying he was running into issues, because he would have to raise that floor up, and basically, then you have a lowered ceiling, and you run into all those complicated issues.
With the existing structure?
With the existing structure. Obviously, with the new structure, all these kind of get built into the new home, and you wouldn't have these problems.
Okay, so, but he could put a two-story building up if he wanted.
Sure, yes,
Okay.
as long as the first floor meets the flood protection, as long as the first floor is at the flood protection elevation, he could theoretically go higher if he wanted.
So, your insurance company declared this home a total loss then?
No, it was just short of a total loss. I think the estimated repairs were close to $200,000.
So Kyle, why wouldn't it be considered a total loss since he's not able to rebuild it?
And I'm not sure how the insurance
It's about
companies.
80%. It should be about 80%.
What was that?
It should be about 80%.
It is, because you can't build it, you can't rebuild it, he can't redo what's existing, so that would be 100%.
If repair cost is 80% of a total value, it will be a total loss. But at this point, it's 50%. Another thing what kind of weird, in every policy, it should be ordinance coverage. It's about 10% extra to your dwelling. So maybe it's not enough, but you should check your policy. You should have that coverage because, every policy has it. That could help you to be, to use at least like what, if it's 10%, then you have, how much what was the dwelling amount on your policy? It should be a replacement cost.
According to the last tax record and everything that we've looked up, the assessed value of the home itself, not the property, so just the home itself was, I think like $200,000. And the estimated repairs to restore the home, 190 something. So I think it was like 98 or 99% of the value of the home.
So it is a total loss.
Yeah.
So it should be total loss.
Yes, but what and I don't know how, what the insurance is willing to put forward to rebuild the home, that's, I'm not really sure.
It has to be replacement cost.
There are costs beyond the cost of the replacement of the home. There are costs to knock down the house. There are lots of additional costs. The cost to knock down the house and redo all the electrical, it's like 40 grand.
Could we ask the petition, could you remove the mask? I mean,
Yeah, I can't.
He's got distance, because I really
can't
have a hard time
understand
understanding what you're
Yeah.
saying. So,
Yeah, so
you're
beyond-
away from there, and
Yeah,
nobody's
beyond-
around you.
Right, beyond the replacement cost of the home, there are multiple additional costs, which the construction company said that I would incur, and one is knocking it down,
And
replacing
it
all.
should be in the cost
That should be
of
in
your
your
dwelling
insurance
amount.
One at
policy.
a time, please.
It has to be, debris removal should be included in that cost.
I've already gone through the insurance company multiple times, and they said,
Do you see in your policy, do you know how much it says there? Because by the time the FEMA, or we will have that, the change in the map, he will run out of loss of use coverage. So if it will take, I don't know, 6 months to rebuild it or a year, they have a limit on the loss of use cost. And if he already wasted, like 4 months, he will run out and he will be stuck with a mortgage and nowhere to live. So, I think we have, you need to see your policy. You need to know exactly what's covered, because ordinance and law should have extra amount.
Do you have a lawyer? Well,
I'm willing.
I'm in your favor.
I'm willing to meet the requirements to put a garage in.
No, we don't have any problem that you don't want to meet the requirements, but
Are
I
you
think
saying?
there's a bigger problem.
Are you saying I have to build a two-story, I have no options?
No.
No, that's not what I'm
not at
saying,
all.
I'm sorry,
No.
that's not what I'm saying.
Well, one of the other reasons is also that we're older, my wife's going to be 70 years old, and stairs kind of bother her. The bedrooms are upstairs. And she says, well, we were thinking of selling and buying a ranch house. She said, well, we can kill two birds with one stone. If you build a ranch house here, I won't have to fight with the stairs. Because we were going to remodel the first floor and put a bedroom in the front room and all this. So if we did repair that, we would probably have additional costs of adding a bedroom to where the front room is, putting an additional bathroom so we could actually stay down there. We're older people. So the bedrooms upstairs, I mean, you're almost paying 50 grand just to put a garage in your house. And we don't use it, we have one car. So.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you will get flooded all the time, that's not a good idea neither.
I understand, but if we do build the ranch home, it will be at the elevation and we won't get flooded. And I think it would be an advantage to both the village and me, the property owner, to have a new home there rather than a repaired home. We paint that. We don't have even a siding on it. So we have peeling paint and stuff that we fight. And it would be more attractive for the village to have a brand new home there. And when we can put a garage in the backyard, my neighbor next to me on the west has no garage. The person next to him has the garage in the backyard. Neither of those have an attached garage, and they're right next to me.
That was because
They're within 100 feet.
zoning changes over the years, I take?
My next question was, Kyle, which I asked previously, the location of the garage. So the driveway does have to be on the east side of the property, I would imagine.
I don't think it really matters what side, as long as they're not bringing fill in, they can put it on the east side of the property, west side of the property. It doesn't really matter where the driveway is currently, or where they propose to put the driveway. It doesn't really matter. As long as they're not bringing fill in to make the driveway meet a certain elevation. It's kind of have to be at existing grade, but they could have it on the west side of the house, they could have it on the east side of the house.
Right.
That's really up to them.
I was just looking at the easements on this survey here. But you're saying that they could locate it, they could drive on either side. There's no dimension on the one side, but I was figuring that it was comparable to the 15 feet on the west side. So that would give them enough room to drive along the west side, and there is enough room in the back. I see the shed is right on the property line in the back. You might have to get rid of that, but. So there is room for him to build, because he would have to put a two-car garage in the back, correct?
I don't know that, do we have anything in our code that limits this, or that
Yes.
dictates the size of the garage? One car, two car?
It's 528 square feet, which
Okay.
would be a two-car garage.
If that's the case, then that's what he would have to do. Whether it's attached or detached, is really does not matter as long as it's after the flood zone remapping changes. And it's in the floodway, he can't do attached.
No, he doesn't have enough room to put a two-car garage unless he moves the location of the house. He doesn't have enough room on either side of the house to put a two-car garage.
But in the backyard, there is
Yeah,
enough room.
in the back.
The deck is going to be
Well,
knocked
yeah, I
down.
suppose it could be attached to in the back of the house.
Yeah, there's lots of room in the backyard. The deck's going to be knocked down when they build anyways. That's on the left-hand side, you see the deck behind the house. That's going to be destroyed, and so behind the house, there's room to build a garage.
All right, so, and I know that we've been waiting for a number of years for this FEMA map to come out. And I know that you said that it's going to be coming out in the spring. But we also know how notoriously late we are with the government as far as getting things finalized. So I would hate to bank on the fact that it's going to be coming in, in the springtime.
The change is coming, there's no question about that, and we can say with relative certainty, you're right, can I say 100%? I cannot, but we can say with pretty good certainty that this spring, we will be, getting these new maps in. If it's not spring, I can't tell you when it would come, but it's coming. We've gone through all this now. FEMA has given us their new firm maps, and we're going through the 90-day public notice period. After that, the new regulatory maps should be coming out. I cannot give you a date specifically when that'll happen, but it's coming.
All right, so have you applied or have you done anything going forward as far as getting any kind of permits for the demolition of the house? Because you have to have asbestos abatement.
We did that.
Okay, you did that already. You already have the permits from Cook County to do the demolition?
We're trying to get those, but we can't get, I think they're along with the building permit and the demo permit.
No, the demolition should be able to be separate from the new construction.
Yeah, we gave our, obviously the demo permit is under a building permit. Engineering gave our blessing to obviously demolish the home. Our biggest concern was that since this new home has to share the same footprint and foundation footprint.
Well, I'm just trying to maybe possibly buy some time for the petitioner as far as doing the site work, getting the old home removed, and that's going to take a couple of months, I would think.
Good.
And we're going to be into next year already, and maybe this map will be coming through and things will be a lot simpler.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson?
Yeah, I don't really see a big issue since there's not going to be any conformity issues, or it won't devalue the neighborhood whatsoever. And again, it's a bit of a hardship. So I'm looking at this, and if it kind of moves things along, and if there's time restraints that he's up against, I have no issue with this. That's all for me.
Commissioner Yednick?
Thank you, Chairman. Sorry for your fire loss. We haven't covered that point. I know, I live right around the corner from you. I walk my dog on Valley Stream a lot. I've been wondering what was going on. I thought you were doing remodeling. I didn't realize there was fire. I have a couple questions just to clarify a lot of discussions that have gone on. So Commissioner Creech, I'm trying to make sense of your last point. Were you trying to say that maybe if he did the demo, sorry, as a separate process to come back to us in the spring, at that point, he would have his, he might have pushed himself into the point where there's a new floodplain map and he's out of it, and now he has more flexibility in what he can construct. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm also a little concerned about, his insurance, for one. And I think my fellow commissioner agrees. But yes, I'm just trying to find him some time as far as maybe to look into this a little bit further, and he could still get going on this particular project. And if he still has to come back to us for a variance, then yes, but at this point, he could still move on with his project.
Well, can I understand that?
Doing
Is
the
that
demo
even-
and everything else, and then maybe it'll come through by then.
Well, would you know, I forgot your first name, Kyle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyle, is it, from the engineering perspective, is that even doable? Does he have to have all the permits on day one, or can you phase in the permits like that?
I guess I don't quite understand that question. So
I think he's saying, let's get all your paperwork in line to do the demo, don't have your build permit, and then that pushes him into next year with the floodplain issue, and then get your build permits. Maybe at that point in time, he could come up with a design that meets all the codes, including the garage and so on and so forth.
The demo permit is completely separate from the new construction. He can do that right now if he wanted to, assuming the building department didn't have any concerns or issues with, his demo permit submittal. Like I said, engineering gave our blessing to, if he wants to demo the home, we don't have any concerns. Obviously, I can't speak for the building department, so that's completely separate. Obviously, the new construction, they'll need the engineering and building permits to be approved concurrently, before he can start constructing. He can obviously go through the review process now if he wants to, for the building and engineering permits for this new construction, while his home is being demolished. So I guess he's got some flexibility in his timeline here. I'm not exactly sure, if that answers your question or not.
Well, yeah, one of the things sir, I think these are very complicated issues.
Yeah.
And I think somebody mentioned or asked if you had a lawyer. I don't know if your architect's helping you through. You might want to spend a couple dollars just to get some professional guidance on this. And I mean, it may be what Commissioner Creech is proposing. Somebody could guide you through that might be an option. Or, a lot of people are concerned that you're not getting a fair shake from your insurance company. I don't know, I'd probably be yelling up and down, but at some point in time, I might hire somebody for myself. I don't want to tell you how to spend your money, because I'm inclined to not say no on the garage, because I agree with what the public came up with. There's a lot of parking problems on Valley Stream. There's a lot of cars during the day, they're blocking the sidewalks. There's a lot of cars, 4 cars in most of the driveways in at night. And I'm not inclined to cause another house with more problems. One of the questions I did want to know is, I think you said earlier, you just have 1 car in your household, but you mentioned that there's 4 people living in the household. That only one of you is the driver, or?
We only have 1 family car right now.
Okay, any plans for any future cars?
I have no plans to buy a future car.
All right, but a potential new owner, if you were to sell the place,
Sure.
might have a lot more cars. I was a little confused on the building up and having 6-foot ceilings, but I think I understand that. That was if you were trying to repair the existing structure, you would have had to bring up the floor.
Yeah.
Aside from your concerns with your wife, have you looked into building up so that you can include the garage and upper floors? Maybe put a master on the first floor, some living areas on the second floor? Or is there just not enough money in your budget in order to do that?
For the new home.
Well, the new home right now is a single level with no garage.
I know, but, so to put a new home, split level estimate was $287,000,
Okay, and how much are the insurance companies not willing to cover that?
around $200,000.
They're only willing to cover about 200,000.
The cost of the repair, they don't want to discuss the new home because the repair estimate was less than 200, was 198,000, I think.
Do they understand the situation that you can't
Yes.
repair? I mean,
They
that's
say-
what I wonder, that
they
if
say
you
that-
want to get yourself a lawyer to have them put some feet to their feet
Yeah.
to the fire and say, that we can't even repair. You've got to protect your client, your insured, that, you can't do what they're
Yeah.
forcing you to do.
I understand we can stretch out the timeline. We're 7 months, going on 8 months, and the insurance company, because they're paying for our housing, that's ending pretty soon, so I have to start paying for housing for.
The other question then, so maybe the
There's a
engineer,
lot of
Kyle,
things.
you can answer this, is if we even went to the flood, got to the point where the new floodplain was approved, he had more flexibility,
I can't.
but and it would still, you'd have to dig in your own pocket to build a bigger house then, right?
That and just being displaced during the pandemic, it's hard living in a rented home when you've been there for we've been there for 16 years. So it's a hardship being in a rented home. We struggle finding a place that would work for the people. And my wife is going up and down stairs now, and there's a lot more stairs in our old home.
Okay,
So she's wanting to get out. She's scared, and I want to get back in, my wife back in the home is the main thing. My kids are younger, they can survive, it's my wife, and she's going to be 70 years old, and she has a handrail she's going up and down, and I want to get her back in the home. And it's my main concern, so, and cutting the time short, I mean.
your existing home, you were going up the stairs already, right? So I
Yes,
don't know if you were considering,
Less stairs
okay.
than we have now. There's 11 stairs in the home we're in, there was about 7 in there. So she's going up farther. when you look down, you know, it's kind of daunting when you're getting older, and I want to get her, you know, I'm thinking about trying to get out of there and getting in a ranch home, which means moving again, and the insurance company says that January is the end of that, so I would have to rent that myself.
So, even if we were to say deny the design without the garage, the petitioner is saying he doesn't have the money to even meet that requirement, correct? That's what I'm hearing.
Well, we're not really approving the design, just the fact that there's no garage.
No, I know,
Correct.
but if you go back to, somebody had the floor plan, if you go back to that floor plan that was existing,
Yeah.
you're basically down to, I don't even see a living room in here, you're down to a kitchen, dining, a master bedroom, and another bedroom. You're taking over the whole, that one bedroom number 1 and bath number 3 and laundry and utility. I'm thinking that all becomes part of the garage.
All right.
So the petitioner is saying he couldn't, based on what his insurance company is giving him and whatever his own personal finances are, he couldn't even afford, he would be building a smaller home than he currently has. I'm thinking that would be the answer.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see what else I had. You talked about cars. I'm surprised you only got one car in the house. You're very much an anomaly from the current situation of everybody these days. I live in a condo building. They're all 2-floor condos. We've got some people with 3 and 4 cars. Okay, we talked about building up. The last question I have then, I guess one of the staff recommendations was if we were to approve without the garage currently and put a condition that within a certain time period, if it was removed from the floodplain, you would be bound to put in a garage. Would you be willing and financially able to even do that?
Absolutely.
So if you're financially able to do that, I would think, I don't know what a garage would cost. Maybe Commissioner Creech, could you add to that to put a detached garage and extend the driveway to the back?
Well, that would be, I think the driveway part of it would be, you know, extremely costly as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because he's got to go all the way around to the back and create a whole driveway behind the home.
And a garage pad and everything.
And then the garage, inexpensive 2-car garage is still going to be, you know, $30,000, I would think.
And so I'm just wondering if you're able
So
to
it's
do
still-
that
you're
at that
still
time,
talking
if you
another
put in some extra money
$50,000.
today, maybe you could come up with a design that includes a 1-car garage and maybe a split level floor. I mean, if you're going to cost $30,000 to $40,000 to put a garage in right after the new year, you're going to be able to come up with that. I'm wondering why you wouldn't be able to do that now today. That's my concern.
You mean put the split level?
Yeah, they don't want a split level.
Because.
Well, but that the want is not the issue. I mean,
I
you could look at building something with, you know, maybe, like I said, a first floor master, you know, maybe have your architect work on that kind of a design. Okay, I'm torn. I think that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Maybe come back for more, but right now, that's all I have.
Commissioner Sprague.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What kind of protection do we have in the village as far as making sure if we were to add that condition that the garage has to be built, that it would actually get done?
We would just have to go through code enforcement, I guess.
That's it?
That would have to be a condition of,
Mallory, we couldn't do anything a little bit more stringent than just having to go through code enforcement?
Well, no, there's 2 options. So obviously, it would be a condition. Staff would probably set a reminder. We would know when the FEMA maps came out, remind the petitioner that that's their requirement, set up an inspection time. If it's not done, we can either go through adjudication or we can bring a circuit court action to get an injunction. Those are the 2 options.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
just code enforcement.
Do you have any plans on moving at all after the new home is built, or are you planning on staying there?
We want, my wife, that's one of the reasons we're going through this, because there was enough insurance company to purchase a ranch home in the neighborhood. And I said, well, let's just take the insurance money, because they will give it to us to buy the ranch. And she said, we've been there 16 years, we know our neighbors. So we have kind of good ties, and she likes the location. It's very quiet, there's a creek behind and nothing on the east side. So she says, I want to try to stay if we can. So I mean, that is another option, that we leave the home and we just leave it as is, and we take the insurance money and buy.
Could I ask for an expansion on that, then? That's a good
It
question.
would sit there. It would sit there in its condition, and we would buy another house. I mean, it is one of our options. I'm not presenting that here because it's not something that has to do with the repair or the build. But the insurance company said, yes, you can go buy another home and we'll pay for it. A ranch home in the area, and we can get it almost for the insurance money. So it is an option, but she does want to stay.
But you would still have residual value in the lot, wouldn't you? Sorry, Commissioner Sprague. I mean, the insurance company would give you the value of the home, and you would have residual value in the lot that you could sell as a tear down then, right?
The lot almost has no value, because I think the knockdown costs end up being as much or more than what the lot would be worth with no house on it. It's a trade-off. You're knocking it down for nothing, you're selling a lot. Sell as is or donate, I mean, you have to sit and wait and have a sign out there, sell as is. I don't know how well those go. I mean, you know, to have a house for sale in the neighborhood, I don't know that that helps the village a lot, especially when it's been on a fire. A new house there with, that looks nice. Even a new house versus a repaired house without the garage, I think it's more attractive to the area. To me, I don't see how the village isn't winning, putting a new house there, a ranch or not. That neighborhood, some of the houses there are older houses. It's going to be one of the newer houses in the area. I thought it would help both. You know, make the neighborhood look nicer, and then when the garage is added, the value goes up. And it's like my neighbor next, not next to me, but the one just west of him, his garage is in his backyard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like his house. And my neighbor's not going to complain next to me, he has no garage. That can be verified, he just has a driveway. I'm no different than my neighbor. But my house is new and his is old. So I think it actually helps the area and us to get it done early, get a new house in, plan on a garage, get my wife on the first floor. If you put all the benefits are on that option. There are many negatives on all the other options, whether they're financial, whether it's safety for people. I've done the check on the list. The advantages to the village and to me are to get a new home in there that's livable.
Well,
I'm sure there are people that would say, oh, well, I'll just build it with the one-car garage in there, and then when it's done, they just have people stay in the garage. You know, that's not too cool to put beds in the garage. You know, I don't want to have to do that either. Which is, I mean, probably it shouldn't be mentioned here, but I mean, people do that.
Oh, yeah.
They use their garages, there's no cars in there, and there's couches in there, and I go down through the neighborhood, and I see people sitting in their garage with tables, watching TV. They use them as living spaces. They don't have garages in there, and many of them, they don't even have garages. They're full of boxes. So to say that, you know, because you don't have a garage, you know, we didn't keep our car in the garage before. And most of the people in my neighborhood don't, if they have a two-car garage, they may have one car in. The rest is full of boxes. So, you know, there's no guarantee that if there's a one-car garage in there that there's going to be a car in there later. You use your space, everybody uses their space for what they need to use it for.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Blanova?
That's a tough one. I think I ran out of questions. Thank you. I made a decision.
I think my questions have pretty much been answered. I was under the impression that you could build it with a garage now, you know, sort of as it is. and convert that space later when you could build a garage in the back. But now that I know you have to raise everything up, that wasn't clear prior to that. So thank you, Kyle, for
No problem.
shedding a lot of light on this. My other question was, like Commissioner Sprague, what recourse, if we grant them a condition to build later, what happens?
I mean, with code enforcement, they can end up going to court and forcing him, or forcing whoever the property owner is to put the garage in.
I hate the fact that we're relying on a state agency to come through in a reasonable amount of time.
Well, it's federal too.
Oh, federal, yeah.
There's more than one agency, right, Kyle?
Yeah, FEMA, Department of Natural Resources, those are the big two. And then obviously the village and our consulting engineers all kind of collaborated on this project. So,
So you've been discussing this for a while?
oh, yeah, the village has been involved with this for probably 2.5 years now.
No, we're talking about this
no,
gentleman.
Oh, say that again?
Have you been involved with this gentleman? How long have you been involved
Oh, as soon
helping?
as we found out that it was substantially damaged, I don't remember what, it was probably beginning of summer, maybe late spring, that's when this kind of fell on our radar once we saw that there was a building permit to, repair a 99% damaged home, if you will. That's kind of when it got brought to our attention. So I think in the interim, they've been working with the design engineer to try to figure out a solution, and that's kind of what we're seeing here.
So a possible alternative is to put a condition on this to allow them to build without a garage and build a garage in the backyard X amount of time after it comes out of the floodplain?
Floodway.
Floodway.
Yeah, whenever the boundaries change, yeah.
Kyle, what kind of site work is he going to be able to do in relation to the garage?
You're talking about when it gets removed from the floodway?
No,
Yeah.
not when he's building a new house.
Well, he wouldn't be building.
You can't put a garage, you can't have a garage in the floodway, so when the boundaries change.
I understand that, but he's also tearing out a foundation that's existing.
Okay, as long as he's not bringing fill onto the site, he can remove the home,
Well,
he can remove the
he's
foundation.
going to have more retention in the crawl space because the single-car garage right now is a slab. So you're adding that area, however much the east side of that property is on a slab, is the whole house, is there any portion of the house other than the garage on a slab? Your crawl space go behind the garage?
The current crawl space?
The current?
Current crawl space is a 6-foot crawl space. The current crawl space is a 6-foot crawl space, but the first level of the house steps down to the garage. The garage is lower than the first floor existing.
So is there a portion of the house behind the garage that's a crawl space?
There's a portion of the house behind the garage that is the same level as the garage. It's a laundry room. And there was also a den on the first floor, which I thought would be a problem because it's a living space that's lower than the first floor.
But it's a concrete slab. It's not, there's no crawl space underneath it.
Not underneath the garage, no.
Okay, so we're gaining all that volume as well.
Right.
So my question is that although he does have some gigantic trees on that property that needs some work or removed, there is a lot of site work that needs to be done if you're going to be building a new house and tearing an old one out. You are going to be gaining more retention underneath the home because the whole footprint now is going to be a crawl space. So my question is, would he be able to do any kind of preparation while he's building a new house in order to get around to the back? I don't think he'll be adding anything other than maybe gravel.
I guess I'm not quite sure I understand. So basically, you're asking in the
Well-
design of his home, does he have any considerations or preparations for a garage and driveway into the back? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, so that he has parking at least for the time being until.
He can create a driveway into his, well, I'd have to double check our floodway code, but he could probably, as long as he's not bringing fill in, he can probably bring a driveway towards the backyard in preparation for a, garage.
For our
if he-
future garage that we're gonna make him put in when he can.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's
I gotta double
part
check
of
that.
what I wanna put.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You want him to kind of create a driveway into the back in preparation for the garage when that time comes?
Exactly.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I think that's possible. Obviously we'd have to double check and make sure that there's no floodplain specific codes that would forbid this, but I think that's probably reasonable.
Okay. It's part of the condition that I wanted to add.
That would actually be very good, because then any concerns about cars, they could be in that driveway.
Exactly.
As soon as that house is built, we could be parking on that driveway waiting for the
Yes.
garage. They wouldn't
Yes.
have to be out in front.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
that'd be a nice condition.
Thank you, Kyle.
I had a couple more questions, Mr. Chairman, when you get a chance.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess if we're going to do that, when you're looking at these the survey plat, then Kyle, I see a 10-foot public utility and drainage easement. Could he even, where would he have to put a driveway? And do we have requirements that a driveway has to be so many feet from the property line? Is there room on either side of the house that he can even put
right
a
up to the
driveway
property
and still
line.
be within code?
Looking at my minimized drawings here, I can't really tell the specific distance, but in regards to the easements, the garage cannot be installed within the easement area, whether it be a public utility easement or drainage easement. The new garage cannot be placed in that, but there, appears to be room in the back, to accommodate. As far as driveways are concerned, I don't think there's anything specific in our code that says how close to the property line it can be, as long as it's not encroaching onto the neighbors. We see new driveways installed pretty dang close to the property line as it is, and as long as they've got the property pins exposed, so we can ensure that they're not encroaching onto the neighboring property, and we're ensure that drainage is not draining onto the neighbor's property, he could theoretically get it pretty, right up there.
Well, right now, both of the sides of the house on the the west side shows us 5-foot public utility and drainage easement. My picture's bigger than yours. The east side shows a 10-foot public utility and drainage easement. It looks like if he cannot build a driveway on either of those easements,
Is there, on the west side of the house, it looks like there's let's take a look at the map.
No, you can build a driveway on the easement.
He can't put the garage on the easement.
Yeah, I think a driveway would be an
So the
acceptable,
driveway can be
yeah, I
put
think
on-
you can have a driveway on the easement, but not a garage. And looking at the space here, it's kind of hard for me to tell. Obviously, it's not to scale on these minimized drawings here. But, between the eastern edge of that, on the west side of the house, there might be enough space in between the easement and the proposed house to squeeze a driveway through into the backyard. Once it's in the backyard, you can kind of, direct it towards the new garage. Obviously, we'd have to look into that and see if the dimensions will allow it, but at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure our code allows a driveway on top of a utility easement. So, understandably at the risk, the homeowner's risk, if, that easement needs to be torn up for whatever reason, it's obviously at the homeowner's expense. But
okay, the other question I had is, and I think I probably know the answer to this, if you go to the floor plan for the new proposal, do we have any concerns about building a house that's probably not marketable? I'm looking at a house that's 3 bedrooms and a kitchen.
That's not part of our realm.
I mean, it almost feels like you're building a tear-down house anyway, or anybody that's going to future buy from you is going to put that second story back on and they have to do a lot of work to get themselves a current modern house, but we don't care about that. Okay. I mean, it almost seems like you're spending money to build something that's not going to be worth what you're spending. That would be my concern.
I mean, or it could be something, just
What's that?
one of those rooms could get converted.
Possibly, but the way it's configured now, you're putting in 2 bathrooms and the third bathroom right in a big living area, so you'd be tearing up that
That's a
plumbing.
master.
I don't know, it just,
Not a plumbing.
That's a master bedroom.
understand that, yeah, but I'm saying, so let's say you left the master on the first floor and you tried to turn some of the bedrooms over there into a living area, like a living room or something, you'd be tearing down houses, or it's gonna be a really tiny little living room, but I wouldn't buy it in this configuration, but, that's me. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman, thanks.
Okay. So, how would we draft a condition to do what we are talking about?
So I have a couple here. So Kyle, let me know if I'm stating this wrong. So the first one I have is the property owner shall construct a two-car garage within 6 months of the release of the approved FEMA flood zone maps. Number 2,
Sorry.
a driveway shall extend to the backyard in preparation for the garage.
So long as it meets our floodway ordinance, obviously I said I'd have to double check that, but as long as it, as long as this new driveway is on existing grade and not being raised at all, I think we might be able to work with that in the interim here.
You could just say code permitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if the FEMA change never happens, we're gonna end up with a house with no garage forever, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but this is, I mean, to Kyle's point, this FEMA thing isn't just a question mark. We're in the final stretch. The plan's been released, it's just in that final notice period. Once that period expires, they're essentially released and approved. So we're just essentially waiting on the clock right now, and it's unlikely that this property will be, very unlikely this property will be affected by that notice period. Because as Kyle said, most people challenge the notice period because their property's being placed into a floodway or plain, not taken out. It's always a beneficial thing, so.
Understand.
I have a question. So when that floodplain is redone and we don't fall into that flood plan, then the requirement for a garage, it could be detached or attached?
Yes.
So then I could actually attach a garage in the back of the house on the east side there, which was pretty much the layout that we submitted, if you remember.
I don't recall that specific layout, but yeah, if you could have it attached or detached, it still needs to adhere to our flood zone.
Yes.
Our 100-year flood zone code. It's a lot less restrictive, but it is possible, yeah.
Right,
So-
and that, attached like that would be even more attractive because then you can come in from your garage into your house through the laundry room. A lot of people do that. It's like many homes.
I would talk to your architect and have him look at the 100-year flood zone requirements and have him prepare that so you know essentially what's going to be built once the plan gets released.
Sure.
Just so it's not a question mark of what side, and that way if you are, since you're going to be preparing the driveway at the time of site work,
Right.
you'll have everything.
Yeah, I will actually go back to the construction company and say that the plan is to put the garage and have the architect input as to what the requirements would be, so the driveway would be right, and maybe they'll even have drawings started.
But Commissioner Creech, you said a 528 square foot garage is a two-car garage, right?
I'm sorry,
Did you say a 528 square foot garage is a two-car garage?
yes,
So that means that I don't think you'd have enough room on that side, on that east side of the property to put a two-car garage.
no, it'd have to be
No,
in
not on the
back.
side, it would be behind.
No, yeah, in the back.
Okay, you said the east side. I thought you meant just
No,
right.
in the back on the east side, so where the laundry room is,
Okay.
there's a laundry room and a bedroom too, so basically you would have a two-car garage, you'd go behind there, and then you could pull into your two-car garage and come in through the laundry.
But I think in that configuration, you're going to have a driveway coming from the west side of the property all the way around, and your whole backyard's going to be concrete, because I don't think if you came in from the east side, you're going to have enough room
Yeah, well,
to swing your
that's
car.
for his
That's for
architect.
the architect to
I don't
figure
know.
out.
Yeah,
We're not designers.
All right.
yeah, it looks like there's a possibility, because we did have some discussions that a driveway could be put on either side. It would be
Yeah, it looks
preferred
like
on the
the
east
space
side,
is there.
to not infringe on my neighbors, by their driveway and have mine next to theirs. And
Just out of curiosity, how many problems have you had with flooding in the, 16 years you've been there?
Other than, The cost of flood insurance used to be pretty low because you used to be able to get it through the insurance companies. When FEMA took it over, and I think mainly to pay for a lot of the Katrina things and stuff, the price doubled. So it was one of the reasons we tried to pay the house off early is because the flood insurance doubled.
But have you had flooding
problems?
issues?
There's never been a flood. That was one of the questions we early came up with. There's no history of a flood. We're between 5 and 7 feet above the creek for the first floor. And in the 16 years we've been there, if you look at the shed back there, we've had water come up to the shed. There's a watermark on it. One of the worst. The creek would actually have to go quite a bit of distance in our neighborhood to ever reach our deck even. Would have to flood the whole neighborhood before it would ever get to our deck. And so the question was, there's never been a flood. How could it reach here unless you had a few miles of, people would be boating down the street before it would reach our deck. We're very high already.
Mr. Chairman,
said-
can I add something?
There's no risk.
Commissioner Blanova?
I don't understand.
There's a private market, you don't have to go through FEMA. There's a private market.
I understand.
I also live in Wheeling, just like you, and I'm not in a flood zone. And my crawl space is getting flooded, even though I'm not in a flood zone.
I know.
It doesn't, I mean,
know. I understand.
get coverage.
I
It
understand.
doesn't have to cost arm and a leg. There is a private market for that. 3 times less.
Okay. Back to writing a condition.
I think we're good.
Okay.
So number 1, property owner shall construct a 2-car garage within 6 months of the release of the approved FEMA flood zone maps. Number 2, driveway shall extend to the backyard in preparation for the garage, code permitting.
Can you live with the 6-month thing? Assuming
Sure.
that,
Yeah.
let's say by March,
That's kind of what we're hoping. The 90-day period will expire, I think, in the middle of January. October 20th was the start of the 90-day public notice period, so I think that puts us into January 20th. And then from there, it's just some finalizations on, I guess, FEMA's end. I don't know how long to expect that to take, but I'm told it wouldn't be that bad. So I think, all things go well, we're hoping March.
how long are they expecting it to take to build the house?
The initial contract was for 9 months, but that included a lot of the architect's work, going back and forth with him, knocking down on the house, shutting off gas and electric, which we had to wait for. There was a bunch of things, permits.
By the time the house is complete, they could go right into the garage.
Yeah, it almost looks like that as the house is being completed, the garage could probably be put up. Right at the end of the completion of it, we could be putting it in. So then I would ask the architect to go back to our original plan for the attached garage and try to plan it in there. I don't know if that means knocking out a wall in the laundry room that's already in. I mean, you have to consider rework, to do that. And,
Make the window in the laundry room the shape of a door.
yeah, there's a lot of contingencies, but, some bridges you want to plan for, but you still have to cross them when you get there.
Yeah.
And so, we'll do the best planning we can to get that. It didn't look like it was an option on either side of the house to begin with, that it would have had to been behind, either attached or detached. We thought, okay, eventually we're going to have a garage behind the house.
I'm sorry, can't you just work in a door right now anyway? I mean, why not put a door to the backyard right there?
Yeah, I don't know why not, but again, we're not designers.
Yeah, just saying. Oh, just to have the architect put a door there in the laundry room right now, instead of a window, just a door to the backyard.
Yes, that's what
Well,
I didn't know the timeline was
There's more
that
to it than
close.
just that. If you have an attached garage, it's got to be sprinkled, and it has to be completely drywalled, and, there's a lot of different things that go along with an attached garage compared to a detached. So you have to talk to your architect about that. There's
Right, also getting
a
the,
lot of money involved between the two.
also getting the permit for the garage, whether it's attached or detached. I don't know if it will be harder to get a permit if it's attached, if there's more regulations.
That's about this, if it's in the flood zone, regulations are the same whether it's attached or detached.
Talk to your architect.
All right,
So moved.
any other questions? So moved with the conditions that Marcy read.
Second.
Okay,
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Belanova.
No.
Commissioner Yadinak.
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Commissioner Creech.
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
yes. So we have a 5-1.
Yes.
All right. Marcy will be in touch.
Yes, this will move on to the village board meeting, so I'll be in contact with you with a date and additional information.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Will that be through the contractor?
Oh, yeah, with
Does she-
Cheryl. I usually talk to
Cheryl
her. Yeah,
Ficus, yeah. Okay,
if that works.
all right.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, good luck.
Thanks so much.
I need a motion to close this public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Calling docket 2020-30. Variation to permit a 6-foot tall fence within a front yard at 721 Longtree Drive.
Docket number 2020-30, Yuri Nestorenko, property owner, is seeking a variation from Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 1910, use regulations and associated sections to permit a 6-foot tall opaque fence within the front yard setback area, which restricts opaque fencing to a maximum height of 4 feet for the property located at 721 Longtree Drive. A zoning variation is intended to be a method of adjustment to equalize regulations where the zoning code has created an unnecessary hardship. A variation is designed to allow affected property owners the same rights and privileges that others enjoy in the same zoning district. In order to be granted a variation, a petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at the public hearing that the request meets the standards of the village code, including, but not limited to, how their individual situation is unique or unusual. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that the request for variation meets the standards established in Title 19. The commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting material submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the village board.
Thank you. Ms. Nyes, anything on this?
Yes. The petitioner is requesting both a variation in the fence height and in the setback. And this is different than some of the ones that we've approved before in that the backyard here abuts the neighbor's front yard. So the variation is for the height to go from 4 feet to 6 feet, which staff is okay with. And the other request is for the fence to go from the existing location, which is about 6 feet from the property line on the north end and about 20 feet from the property line on the south end, all the way east to the maximum of 1 foot from the property line. And staff would recommend that the new fence be put in the same place as the existing fence. This is because we're concerned about safety and sight lines with the driveway of the neighbor to the north.
Thank you. The petitioner, I assume, is here? One or both of you? Come on. Come on up. It is a public hearing, so I need to swear you in. Do you swear the testimony you're giving tonight to be the truth? Thank you. And state your name and address for the record.
My name is Yuri Nestorenko, 721 Longtree Drive in Wheeling, Illinois, 60090.
Thank you. All right, explain what it is you're looking to do here.
So this summer, we chose with my wife.
You can take the mask off
Okay.
while you're that far away from us.
This summer, we chose with my wife to make a new fence. And so, because our old fence was 4 feet and was very old and broken, and we chose to replace this fence to 6 feet fence, and we want to move this fence close to the sidewalk because we want to make our backyard a little bit bigger, and we think this it will bring a little bit more value to our house, and it will bring a better look for neighborhood. Okay, and we make contract with one company, fence wheel company, and we paid already in full for a new fence, and our company representative ordered a permit for us, but our permit, we don't receive a permit, and we have proposed to variance to install the 6 feet tall fence, and probably might be close to the sidewalk. So.
Okay, thank you. Let's start with Commissioner Blanova.
Thank you. So basically, as much as I understand, it will cover it will be a problem with the neighbor, right?
No, the concern from staff and others is extending it to 1 foot from the sidewalk and making it 6 feet high is a safety issue as far as people coming by the neighbor's driveway.
And if it's going to be a lower from 6 to 4, then that would be a problem.
If it were all the way up to the sidewalk, it could still be, yes.
But only 4, not 6.
But 4 feet would,
Are you okay with 4 instead of 6?
Because we need more private,
It makes sense. It makes sense. Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Commissioner Sprague.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Yuri. Yeah, I'm torn on this. It was brought to my attention that we could be limiting Yuri to how much of his own yard he can use versus blocking the visual from the neighbors. I'm going to have to listen to some of the other questions and answers before I make a decision, I think.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Yednak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't really think I have any questions. I understand the request and the variances or the nuances of the different requests. Just if we're going to vote on a proposal, I would be in favor of the height increase, but not the extension of the yard. And so I would want that as to be a condition, unless it doesn't even need to be a condition if we just deny the second variance. Not sure how that works.
That it?
Not sure.
Is that,
Is there a current variation for his current fence? The prior docket? The current,
Is it
because the
legal?
current fence is clearly a variation on the setback, but is it a pre-existing?
He does not have a variation for his current fence.
Okay, then it would, then you would still, if you were going to allow the existing location, I would still have a motion on that variation because it's not currently on the property. It must be a pre-existing to setback requirement, so it's a legal non-conforming use. So I would still make a motion, but it would be limited to the existing location.
So should we break this up into 2 motions?
Yes,
like
we should set-
30A
yeah.
and 30B? Like,
Yeah.
can we do that?
Yes, yes.
So the first one should, 30A should be for the height and 30B should be for the distance.
Yes.
Okay, so it is two variations.
It's two variations, two motions.
Okay, then that'll be cleared up when I
Yeah.
take my vote. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Thompson?
So we have quite a lot of these that are 6-foot fences that go right up to the property line. Because what I'm just thinking, I know the sight lines are the concern for the neighbor, but one thing that I'm thinking is that the direction of the traffic or where the traffic's going to be coming from, by the time they move out, the traffic that they can see, and as they move into the road, they're going to be able to see that there's no traffic coming from the one-way to move into that area, and then any of the traffic where the view would be from the other area, they'd be able to, I feel like they would be able to see around it.
The concern might be the sidewalk view, though. If there's a kid on a bicycle riding down the sidewalk,
Oh, yes.
that was what I was seeing as a concern. I agree, the road is not a concern, the sidewalk might be.
The sidewalk, yeah. Yeah, I was purely on the road. Okay, that was my only thought there. Thank you. That's it.
Commissioner Creech?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've had a number of these type of requests since I've been on the commission. I believe there's only been one previously that is exactly the same as this one, if I remember correctly. As far as us approving 6-foot fences along these corner lots, we've done this on a regular basis. And I believe by code, they could go all the way to the front of the house with the fence, all the way to a foot to the property line. Now, I understand that there's a vision issue from the driveway to the north, but if there's the sight triangle incorporated into the fence, I believe that that would be covered and everything would be according to code.
I'm not clear on what you just were,
Well, if he has a sight triangle on that northeast corner of his property, so the driveway that is to the north of him is not obstructed, then everything would be, according to code.
okay?
So I guess the question I have is, the sight triangle, is it from the back of the curb or is it from the back of the sidewalk? So when I looked it up in the code, it pretty much says the back of the curb. Now, I might be wrong, but I also know that you're not supposed to have anything above 3 feet from the center of that gentleman's driveway as well for obstruction where, we have bushes and trees and stuff all over the village that blocks people coming out of driveways, as much as even in this neighborhood where people are parking 4 cars on their driveway and obstructing the view for people backing out. So I'm with the petitioner. I believe that we would be remiss if we did not, let him use as much of this property as he chooses to, just as long as that fence is by code. And I think if they put that triangle on that northeast corner, it should be fine.
Can I respond? Can I respond? So the vision triangle is intended for 2 streets, and we draw that vision triangle by the intersection of the right-of-way lines. So it really wasn't intended primarily to draw it for a driveway. So I think for the driveway.
Okay, so then they don't need it.
No, that's,
No.
Well, then, it would be from the back of the sidewalk, which I don't see in the code, but,
It's one, so I'm looking at the code right now, trying to hop around to the different sections that's referring to this fencing and the vision triangle, so bear with me. But
it does say setbacks in there.
right.
at one
so-
point.
Yeah, so, and it's behind the property line, not the, so it would be more the sidewalk. So it says that opaque fences and landscape screening shall be visually open between a height of 3 foot and 7 foot above grade when placed inside the vision triangle as described in 1911-30. And then it says within the front yard setback area at a height not to exceed 4 feet above finished grade of the ground, provided that it shall be located a minimum of 1 foot behind the front property line. But then the side lot lines, it's also, so you have to have like the 1 foot from each side on the side lot lines as well.
Right. So that's
Something
what
about
I said.
obstructing the vision.
Yeah, so it can't obstruct, but it cannot obstruct the sight line
Right, so if he has
at
to-
driveway.
If he has the site triangle on that northwest corner, then he should be able to build that fence, 6 foot, 1 foot off the property line, all along that sidewalk, all the way to the front of his house. If we agree to give him a variation on the height.
So would you state that a condition would be provided that he doesn't obstruct the vision triangle?
Yes,
Okay.
But that doesn't relate to the sidewalk.
yes, it does.
I think we need
It's-
to
that's
look
our
at it
code.
further.
I'm just saying, we've approved 6-foot fences on these corner lots for a number of people.
Yeah,
He's no different, other than he has a driveway to the back of him. So,
And
my
plus he's
point is that
expanding.
if we do not obstruct the vision for anyone backing out of that driveway, then everything is per code, except for the height. And we have to approve the variation for the 6-foot height, period. And of course, the sight lines, just long as it doesn't obstruct the sight
So
lines.
it's 20 feet
Yeah.
along the right-of-way property lines or driveway
Driveway
center
center.
line starting from the intersection. So that's why it's intersection, but it's, the triangle is 20 feet from
So
the
you would go
center of
from
the
the center
driveway.
line of the driveway to the property lines, and then it would be.
So he's got that
20
already.
feet. So he has to be 20 feet from the center line of the driveway.
No, we don't have that
And
measurement
we don't
right
have
here.
that.
What do you mean we don't have that?
We don't have that measurement. The center of the neighbor's driveway.
Center of the neighbor's
To
driveway.
the fence?
Yeah.
Well, do you have a dimension? Because
No, we,
looking at the elevation, if you look at the front of that house to the south of them, do we have the other photo? Yeah, okay. You don't think there's 20 feet from the center of that driveway to that fence?
yeah, it
He's probably
is.
got 15 feet from the edge of the driveway to the fence.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's probably got about 25 or 30 feet. So for my clarification.
And that would be part of the triangle, I believe.
It's that's one part of the triangle, because you have to also look at the right-of-way and the property lines, and they come
All
to a
right,
point
well,
in the triangle.
I'm just saying that even if we go from the property line to the back of the sidewalk, we go 10 foot in, 10 foot over, make the site triangle, he should be able to go to up to 1 foot to the sidewalk on the east of his property, all the way to the front of his house, according to our code.
I would just recommend that we add a condition that be shown on a site plan prior to getting the building permit.
Prior to him obtaining a permit, correct?
So to make sure I understand then, what I was saying earlier of 2 variances, Commissioner Creech is making an argument that there really isn't a second variance, correct?
No, there's still 2 variances.
Yeah.
No, the
What?
variance on the height, but not to the property line.
Yes, there's
Well,
the
that's
one.
still a variance. To be able to build to the property line is the variance
Yeah.
he's requesting.
Oh, but I thought if he's allowed to build a 4-foot fence to the property line, isn't that correct?
No,
Yes.
he still needs a
that
variation.
would still be a
to build.
variance.
Yes.
That
He
will
needs a
still be right.
variation to go from 4 to 6 feet, and he needs a variation to go to 1 foot from the property line, because the code requires a 25-foot setback from his property line, and he wants to go to 1 foot setback.
Okay, all right, but
That's okay.
I think to Commissioner Creech's point, we have allowed, like, we had existing 4-foot fences that were right on the
Well,
property
see,
line.
then we get into the argument, is this a backyard or a side yard? And it's because if it's a corner property, then really it's his backyard.
Okay, all right, now I understand more, I see what you're saying.
Has your neighbor said anything about this? Have you talked to him?
Also, I talked with the neighbor, all of my neighbors said me, okay, it will be very good and will bring a new look for our neighborhood. So,
They're not here.
any complaint till yet?
Yeah, they were notified and they're not here fighting it, so. Were you done, Commissioner Creech?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
I'm torn with this one too. I'm still worried about some kid on a bike coming right around the corner of that fence when your neighbor's pulling out.
Well, you have to be careful when you drive.
Yeah.
You can't discriminate against this one individual
What if you,
because
Well, we're
we have a number of these throughout the village. So
what if you
we've
drive
already established that we allow it
That's,
for a number of properties, and I think it would be,
I want to be careful that it would not be discriminating against, there's a different, it's a variation. so
Wrong
there's
word.
an evaluation of criteria that must be met. This one is distinct from other ones, as in they were backyard to backyard with no driveways nearby. So if commissioners do feel that there's a distinction to be made, that criteria aren't met, that's one thing, but there is a distinction between the different requests from prior ones.
well, I would have to go back and look up, because I know that we've done one exactly like this previously. I'd have to go look it up, but
I don't recall one like this recently.
Not any of
within the
recent
past
ones.
couple of years.
Well, and I have a small point that I just would like to make is, anytime I visit my in-laws, my father-in-law has a giant van that he has parked in the driveway. Anytime I reverse out of their driveway, I have to go really slow and look for kids, because they have tons of kids biking. And, yeah, the whole thing is that I do, to
Well,
Creech's
it's a law,
point.
you gotta stop before a sidewalk,
Yeah,
before
I
you
mean-
cross the sidewalk anyways.
So I feel like even the space that's there provides a lot more room than I have to contend with when the person has just another vehicle in the driveway itself. Those things obstruct sidewalk views as well. So that's just a small point I wanted to make, that just in driving, you do have to be careful, and there's always obstructions.
All right, any other questions? Commissioner Sprague?
I just, Yuri, is there any possibility you could cut that corner so that there's a little more visibility from that driveway?
What do you mean cut a corner?
Angle it instead of having a straight,
Well, that would be a
90.
condition.
You mean
what's that?
angle it from
That would be a
6 feet
condition.
till 5?
No,
or-
no, just the shape of the corner. Instead of it being a corner, angle it so that there's more area to view the sidewalk.
Yes, why not? I think this not will be a big problem for me.
Come on up here.
As
Yes, to
street
be
going
sworn.
very interesting, from
Hang on.
Sycamore to
Hang on,
Hills, they're going
technically-
like,
Hang on.
State your name.
We have to swear you in. So, do you swear the testimony you're giving tonight to be the truth?
yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
You want to state your name?
The street Sycamore to Hints, they're going very, like, to left side, and the vision will be not closed. That will be everything absolutely open. You can be more about this situation. the vision will be not closed.
Okay.
Could we have your name?
My name is Dina.
Okay.
I have no problem with the 6-foot height, and most of the ones we've approved lately are just replacing existing 4-foot fences in their existing locations, and we've approved every one of them. My concern is still the, how close it is to the sidewalk. Now, I personally have a fence that is 1 foot from the sidewalk, but it's not by a driveway, it's not by a corner, it just juts out from the side of my house.
It's by a corner, it's by an intersection.
Not that fence.
That fence on the southeast corner of your property,
Well, the village put up a fence,
it's right up to the sidewalk, correct? On both sides.
and
And there's no,
That's a whole
there's
nother
no vision
discussion.
triangle there either, because it's from the back of the curb, probably.
probably, and they may have,
So there's enough view there, but you're right up to the curb, right on your property, on the back and on the side.
Yeah.
And it's actually more than 6
Well,
foot in the back.
not on the
Is that
back.
fence more than 6 foot
Where?
on Dundee?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it is.
It probably is off the
Okay.
curb, yeah, because that was the village putting up that fence. So I'm sure it's right. Okay, so we have separate motions on this?
Yes.
We're gonna have to vote. We have to do them separate?
I
Or
would
can
do
we
them
take a poll?
separate, given the,
So I guess we'll do the height first.
okay.
So we'll call this one 2020-30A. So it would be to recommend approval of docket number 2020-30A, granting a variation from Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code to permit a 6-foot tall opaque fence within the front yard setback for the property located at 721 Longtree Drive. Do you want to vote on that one first?
Yeah, let's vote on that one first.
So moved.
Second.
Creech and Thompson?
Commissioner Yedenick,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova,
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes, Commissioner Creech,
Yes,
Chairman Johnson.
Yes.
I think I kind of messed up.
Okay.
Mallory?
Yes.
Does it matter that I mentioned that it was in the setback?
In the motion?
Yeah. I mean, I was,
No,
okay,
the variation is on the height. That's what,
okay.
we can clarify it in the ordinance.
Okay. So then the second one would be to recommend approval of docket 2020-30 to permit a fence,
30B.
30B.
B. 2020-30B to permit a fence within 1 foot of the property line?
Do we want to clear?
Variation to the setback, what is it, it's a variation of the, was it the front yard setback?
Yeah.
Do we
be
want to
within-
clarify that it's based on the proposed fence in the location exhibit? Because if we say that, he could go wrap around all the way to the front of the house.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, those things will be in there, but, I can read the whole thing, how it would be. So recommend approval of docket number 2020-30B, granting variation from Title 19 zoning of the Wheeling Municipal Code, Chapter 1910, use regulations and associated sections to permit a fence within the front yard setback area within 1 foot of the property line. We have to specify where that is. And then for the property located at 721 Longtree Drive in accordance with the fence location exhibit and the fence proposal from Peerless Fence.
So moved.
So we're going to have the condition of the,
Any other one condition, correct?
I have one condition. I guess we would put that on the second one.
Yeah, done the second one.
The condition would be that the applicant shall submit a revised site plan showing the vision triangle from the driveway to the north prior to receiving a building permit.
so moved.
Second.
Commissioner Creech,
Yes.
Commissioner Yedinak,
The testimony and the arguments changed my mind, yes.
Commissioner Blanova,
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Thompson,
Yes.
Chairman Johnson,
I'm going to say no.
5-1.
So this recommendation will go to the village board, and
I'll follow up with you on the date and additional information on that tomorrow.
All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
They're kinder than we are.
Good night.
Good luck.
Bye-bye.
You have to close it.
and I need a motion to close
So moved.
both of those. I guess we can group them together
Yeah,
to
you
close
can
them?
group those together, yeah.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Moving on. Approval of minutes of the regular meeting for October 14th, 2020, including findings of fact for docket numbers 2020-3, 2020-24, 2020-26, and 2020-27. I hear a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Thompson,
I'm sorry, nothing for me?
No,
Or,
No.
what are we saying?
Are you voting yes or no?
Oh,
minutes.
yes?
Commissioner Yedinak,
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova,
Yes.
Commissioner Sprague is a yes. Commissioner Creech,
Yes.
Chairman Johnson.
Yes. Okay, other business. Let's start with Commissioner Blanova. You got
No
anything?
surprises, Mr. Chairman. No, nothing today.
Nothing? Commissioner Sprague?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Commissioner Creech?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wondering, have we had any applications come in for the new thing, and we have any prospects?
Yes to both,
Cool,
but that's all I can say right now.
very good.
Perhaps next week's board meeting will,
Watch the Monday meeting. Right?
yeah, watch the Monday meeting.
Watch the Monday meeting. And just well, I'd like to encourage everyone to vote. Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson?
Now I'd like to say, I have nothing.
Commissioner Yednick?
Already voted. Nothing, thanks.
I had a couple things. If you didn't see last week's village board meeting, they talked about the concept for Prairie Park that will eventually be coming to us, I presume. So I would urge you to take a look at that. It's about 20 minutes of the meeting that they had, just so you have a little background on it for when it does get here. A reminder that our next meeting is next week at this time because of the adjusted November, December calendars. And I see Marcy's already got the packet posted, so you can go home and start working on it. Let's see, what else? Reminder for anyone who hasn't done it yet to get out and vote and set the clocks back this weekend. Marcy, anything from you?
Yeah, I have a couple things.
Okay.
So the first is about the 7-Eleven on 14 North Elmhurst. The approved site plan had the tops of the columns in the fueling islands, they were supposed to be painted to match the storefront, which was supposed to be like a darker color. And they came in and requested that they be allowed to paint them white per their national color scheme. So we allowed them to do that, in case anybody remembered.
What columns are you talking about?
The columns at the fueling island.
Oh, okay.
So they're not going to be brown, they're going to be white.
Somebody was out there painting the vent pipes from the tanks today.
Oh. So I just wanted to let you know about that. Then I wanted to follow up about the item about Walmart that Tatiana brought up last week. So our code enforcement has been notified about that and they are working on it. So maybe I'll have more information later, probably next week.
Oh, is that with the gravel thing?
Yeah, with the landscaping being replaced with gravel.
I opened the Pandora box.
We were actually already working on it, so I just didn't know where it was, but it is in code enforcement. And then just the third thing about the meeting next week, and that the only thing on the agenda is we're discussing the full overhaul of the sign code, so take a look at that early, because it is the full sign code that's being replaced, not just sections of it. So you have a copy of the old code and then the new code in your packet. That's it.
While you're on filling stations, I thought I remembered when we approved Bucky that they were going to be painting the pump barriers or the guards to match the building, but those are all still blue. Does anybody remember that?
At Buc-ee's?
What's that? The
Where?
Buc-ee's on
Lake
Lake Cook and Wyland. I thought that they were all the structures around the gas pumps were going to be color matched to the building, but they're still the old blue colors, which to me sticks out like a sore thumb now, but
I can look into it.
I don't recall. I should go back and I keep noticing every time I drive past, I should go back and look at the board packet for that time, but I don't remember when we approved it.
Okay.
I also like the way the, was it 200 East Dundee building next to the McDonald's? That really looks nice.
Yeah, that looks good.
If you haven't seen it.
Oh, yeah.
By the McDonald's.
Yeah, the balcony and everything.
That
Yeah,
turned
that's
out
cool.
really nice. All right, Mallory, anything from you?
I have nothing.
All right, then how about a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.